Welcome everybody, this is Greg with Firmware Industries here to show how to install the GameCube Blue Retro board into your GameCube. So first of note is, at least for the ones that Laserbear is going to ship out on round 1, we're going to be installing the reset switch for you. But that may not be the case for all vendors. It'll just depend on what they'll do. So this is just a little lever that makes a standard button work like the original reset lever. And to install that, if it's not pre-installed for you, you just take the lever. There is a little pivot. The pivot just goes right inside the lever. You set the lever over the button, flip it to the back side, and you're just going to put the screw through the back side and tighten it down. It's a little bit easier when you're not trying to do it for a camera, but overall it's not too difficult of a process. You're just going to tighten it down. And now you have a reset lever. Laserbear will also be putting in the time battery. I just don't have one installed on this as it's a sample unit. So that is really the only prep work that you may have to do. Now on to getting your console ready. For that, you need to have one of these GameBit drivers. You're going to take out the 4 corner screws and just set them aside because you'll put them back together on the unit once you're all said and done. And that's really all there is to prepping the console side. Don't lose your screws. Not much more to it than that. And we're going to take the top off. And the next step to do is to remove the old front board. So to do that, you're just going to pull forward. I actually don't have the original ribbon cable for this. It was damaged when I was doing my original, development for this project. But this kind of simulates what would have been there. So it would look kind of like this. Once you pull it out, you're just going to pull aside just a bit. Just grab on either side, and pull up, and it will pop right out of the connector. And then you're going to set your console aside. We're going to remove the front board. There's just 2 screws holding the front board in place. Just pull those 2 screws, and just like that, the old front board can be removed. Our next step is to prep the antenna. So the antenna will have a little bit of sticky tape on it. Just pull your sticky tape off or pull the backing off the sticky tape. Just like so. And I prefer to put the antenna right between player 3 and 4 on the front panel. Just like so. And our next step is to set the new front board in. So it just goes in the same place that the old one does. There's a couple of holes that help line you up. Press her down, just like so. And then take your 2 screws, put your 2 screws back in. Now, next step is to take your ribbon cable and go ahead and install your ribbon cable into the ribbon connector. Just pull these two tabs up, so it looks kind of like that. And the ribbon cable slides in underneath. And it can be a little bit challenging to get past, but once it's in, just like so, should be fairly even in there. If it's not perfect, it's okay. And then you're just going to close this connector over top. Now the ribbon cable is nice and firmly kept in place. Next thing we're going to install, there are two extension cables. One of them is for the power inlet, one of them is for power outlet. So the power inlet one has this kind of, I don't know if I can show it, but it kind of has like this angled edge to it. And it's only going to fit into one port, and that is this port next to this relay. So all you do is stick it in that port, press it in, and you're done. Next step, this one is an extension cable. One end is a female connector, one's male. All you gotta do is plug your male into the male port, just like so. And now your prep is done for those things. Next thing you want to do is get your antenna connected. What I do is I just run my antenna under or between these two standoffs, up and around, under the reset switch, under the wire, and then I kind of do like a little loopy deal here and plug the antenna into the antenna header on the microcontroller. This little ESP32 right here. Come here. And just like that, your ESP32 has an antenna. Just keep your antenna cable kind of out of the way. You don't want it to catch on anything that you've got to connect or anything. And next up, we're going to start connecting everything in. So what you're going to do first is you're going to get this ribbon cable plugged in. You're just going to plug it in like so. The pins should be facing backwards towards the back of the console. And just like that, you plug it in. Next step is you're going to tilt it into place. So take your front edge, set it in the little lip where it goes, keep your wires out of the way, and you're just going to tilt it back until it clicks into place. Next up, we're going to come to the power side of things. So if you leave your fan plugged in here, which is totally viable, the fan will run at all times, even if the console is powered off via the Bluetooth control functionality. If you would like your fan to turn off while the console is in that kind of pseudo standby stage, all you have to do is unplug your fan, and it comes over and it plugs into this little header right here. And just plug it right in. And then it will kind of function as would be expected of a fan. When the console is in off or the pseudo standby mode that Blue Retro enables, the fan will be off. And when the console is on, the fan will be on. Next, we're going to just take our wires and we're going to lead them up to the front. So what we do here is we're going to unplug this connector. This connector is unfortunately no longer manufactured, so that's why we have to go with a slightly different one. But that slightly different one does function in this capacity. And you're going to plug this into that extension cable lead, and you're just going to put it out of the way towards the back of the console. If you've got a disk drive in here, you just want to make sure that it clears the disk drive's functionality. And the disk drive mostly fits in this exact same footprint as this adapter does on here. And the last step is you're going to plug this cable into the original power inlet port, just like so. And just tuck it down so it's out of the way. You are all set. Power is run. Next functionality is to put the console back together. Take your lid, put your lid back over top, flip the console back over, and put your 4 game bit screws back in. And you are done. And ready for the use of your brand new Blue Retro install. One thing to note, these ports tend to have just a hair bit of missed contact in these shield contacts. So they're not necessarily required except for when you're trying to use the GBA adapter, because that's the only one that requires the shield contacts to do proper port detection. So all you really got to do is just go in and flip them back just a hair if that's a situation that's happening to you. So if these aren't making contact, you're just wanting to do a quick bend back just so that they make better contact. So there's not really much to it. You're just going in and you're pulling them in just a hair. And then with that, they should make proper contact when a controller port is plugged in, and then do the correct port detection. Otherwise, you might not be able to detect the GBA controller adapter, which is just one of the parts that this is able to detect. Otherwise, the other detection method that's in place will detect every like third-party controller, first-party controller via current sensing. If the controller is pulling power, it will detect that. It's just the GBA cables don't pull power. They're, the GBA powers itself, so they don't need power to flow through it. And it's just for easier detection. Anyway, that is the install process. Super simple. All you really need is a Phillips screwdriver and a game bit screwdriver. Thank you, and have a wonderful day. These are available at laserbear.net. And there are some other vendors that can be found that are also selling this board. They're official vendors through us. So have a great day.